Good morning, everyone. It is 10:30 a.m. It's Sunday. That means it's time for Sunday Club, which is super exciting. I am coming in pretty hot this morning. Didn't have a huge amount of time to prepare. Not that I have spend a lot of time doing that normally. So if you have never seen this stream before, every week on Sunday Club, we take a look at some Ruby on Rails. We take a look at different things that might be included in a Ruby on Rails app, and we kind of build an app along together. And that app involves allowing users to sign up, and they can give an ID of like a YouTube or maybe hopefully one day a Twitch channel. And then we kind of pull all the videos in, and we might make a little website where they can kind of display all of those and where people can do things with them. So, good morning, everyone. It's Sunday. It's still freezing cold here. It's been snowing all week. It's been miserable. And like I said, I haven't had a huge amount of time to either kind of go back and tidy up the work in progress branch or prep for this week. So we're going to come in pretty hot, and let's talk about what I want to look at. We haven't got any follow-up because of that complete lack of prep. So I want to jump straight into what we want to look at today. And I feel like we kind of rounded off. We didn't do too much code, but we kind of rounded off the webhook stuff, which we looked at for YouTube. And we did a big planning thing, kind of the versioning stuff we did last week around paper trail and how we might restore previous versions of a model. I didn't go too far deep into the code of actually implementing that stuff. I'm hoping there was enough talk last week around like how we could implement that and some kind of quickie examples. If people are super interested in that, then post in the GitHub repo. There's a link in the description, and kind of let me know, and I'm happy to kind of delve into more detail. What I am interested to get back to is the failed experiment that we had a few weeks ago, trying to get into turbo streams. So if you remember, that is all to do with Hotwire, which is kind of this new part of Rails, or a new series of technology that's available for Rails. And we had a really cool stream where we got turbo frames working, where we have, you might be creating, editing and destroying records in Rails. And rather than having to reload the entire page every time, we were able to use turbo frames to make it really cool and really look really reactive and all happening as if it was just kind of more like a React app or something like that. Then we took a look at turbo streams, and turbo streams is where we want the server basically to push changes, push whatever we want back up to the client. So we maybe want a notification to appear or something to update in the user interface. And that is all encompassed in turbo streams as I understand it. Now, turbo frames work to treat. Turbo streams, I didn't really know what we were going to find there, and basically there was more upfront work than I had understood, and I didn't really know what that work was. So we couldn't really do it on the stream, or I certainly got a bit lost, and the documentation was kind of like trying to help me, but I wasn't really clicking with it. So I want to go back a stage and then get kind of lead us back in that direction. But I want to do it through functionality that people might need to build in their apps. And so what I thought we could do is, if we now have this concept of a channel in the Sunday Club app, which has a series of videos in, kind of a natural thing that people are going to want to do is subscribe to those channels. So just like on YouTube or any other social media application, or in most applications, you kind of want to say, hey, tell me when something changes on this channel. And we then need to decide how we're going to tell those people, and they need to be able to subscribe, unsubscribe, change how they want to be notified. So when we build that functionality, we're going to plan it today and take a look at it, hopefully make a start. And then we're going to hopefully make that happen via the magic of turbo streams, hopefully, so that when something happens that you want to get notified about, it actually comes through in the client. And by the end of that, it's all magic. So I don't know how long that's going to take, but I think that'll be dependent on how our planning goes. So let's jump in. I've just seen, good morning, Justin. He's just posted in the chat. Sorry, I missed that because I was trying to get this thing up and running. Right. Okay. So let's jump over to the screen over here. I'm going to use a good old-fashioned tool that we have used before. Let's just change the screen here. Great. Okay, so we're going to draw some pictures. I think that's always like I find it super helpful. This is what I do all the time. And let's talk about subscriptions. Let's talk about like, and when I say subscriptions, I don't mean I would like to buy your product pay every month and give you £10 a month or $10 a month or something. Like that is a subscription for a product. But the kind of subscription I mean is someone subscribing to a YouTube channel or subscribing to a social media feed or something like that. So a user indicating they want to be notified of something and then being able to revoke that interaction. And so I have basically, I don't think I've ever used anything off the shelf for that, but I'm aware that things exist. I think everything I've ever worked on that has needed that type of functionality has kind of rolled their own. I wonder why that is. Are we about to discover that today? Let's go and take a look. So what I thought we could do is take a look at what's off the shelf again. I have this one. I'm really coming in completely like a blank page. And then if we can't find anything that we think might meet our needs, we can roll our own and say, what do we want to happen? And so let's go take a look. Let's see. Go back to the Ruby toolbox, which we've used before. I just have a feeling if I type in subscriptions, we're going to get a lot of payment-based subscriptions. So maybe that's not the word I'm looking for. Subscription. Let's just put the singular there first. So let's see what comes back. We bump this zoom up on the browser, so hopefully it's a bit more visible. Subscription management. Okay. Subscription. Building services which have paid subscriptions. Subscription support for Rails with Stripe. Yeah, this is kind of just thinking about it now. Of course, that's what shows up. Catello adds content and subscription management to Foreman. Okay, I don't. That's okay. I'm not quite sure that's what that is. I think I know what Foreman is, but that's not. Okay, let's move on from that one. Zoho subscription. Okay, so this search term is not great. So do we have to go down the notification route and maybe search for notifications first and then work back to how those are being triggered? So presumably notification gems sometimes include how do people subscribe and unsubscribe. Yeah, so these are all like subscribing to different things. Okay. Subscription library. Okay, cool. Let's jump back up. Let's take a look. Subscription management. Okay, so what is this all financial? Yeah, Braintree. Okay, cool. So let's take a look at notifications instead. Again, this is super useful for me. I'm hoping that, I'm really interested to see what is off the shelf. I wonder, there are like third-party services that do stuff like this as well. Like I said, I've just, the things I've worked on have always had like I don't know if I've ever built one from scratch either. I think there's always been something there, like, and then I've had to work with what's there. So this would be interesting. Notifications, internals, logging probe. Noticed is used on Grails. Is noticed? The noticed is. It's Sunday morning, Justin. I can't type either. Justin is saying noticed is used on Rails. Okay, so I've heard of that. I'm hoping that shows up in here if we put notifications in. So, do you know if noticed handles the subscription and unsubscription and like how, or is it just handling that like the user interface of the subscription of the kind of notification side and the like an API to post notifications to? I don't know how far that gem expands. So again, is notifications a category here? No matching categories. Notifications. I kind of thought there would be a category for that. Exception notification? No, it's definitely not that. Okay. Okay, so let's actually, Jason, Justin's got a really good point. So if we go and find a gem that we know does that, let's see what it's tagged with. Because then this is interesting. Like I don't even know the language to use around it. Okay, yeah. So that must be why I've heard of this, because this is pretty new. Okay, so that's from last year. And what are the terms that they use here? Oh, okay, so it does handle, okay, so this is, we currently support these notification delivery methods out of the box. Database, email, action cable channels. Right, that might be what we're looking for here, action cable channels. Slack, Microsoft Teams. Great, okay, so it does go through. And does it handle, do you ping it the event after the person has subscribed? So there's a screencast there. Okay, cool, so we can watch that. To generate notification numbers, Rails generate, sending notification, command notification. Right, okay, so this triggers the notification or delivers a notification, but does it check to see, it's got to multiple recipients, does it check to see whether the person has subscribed, or do you have to build your own subscription mechanism before it? Just scanning this really quickly. Again, no shade if it doesn't do that. Like, it's great that it does what it does. I'm just wondering how far the behavior of that gem goes. So it doesn't mention who to deliver these to. I guess that's up to your app. And I think this is the one we're really interested in, or I'm really interested in, because my action cable experience is basically zero. So I'm really interested because I think I may be way off here, but that's what gets us to the turbo streams behavior. So this is just delivering. I'm just skipping over these. All about delivery. Okay, so let's do, if I just type in Rails subscription management, I'm just going to get, so Rails subscription, that's the wrong search term, I think. Subscription, maybe email subscription management would be better. RubyGem for notification management. Okay. This is Noticent, RubyGem for user notifications. Okay, so this is good. Activity notification, email subscription workflow. Okay, so yeah, so maybe email might be the kind of prototypical example here. Ruby on Rails email subscription management. Email subscribes. Because subscribing or unsubscribing to a mail notification is the same as everything else. Okay, we've got loads of stuff here. RubyGem for notification management. So is this the same as, what was the one that Justin mentioned? Noticed. Define different channels, specify the alerts, use simple methods. Okay, right. So this one does use simple methods to subscribe and unsubscribe users to each one of the alerts on different channels. Cool. Okay, so that's the difference I was looking at. So I've bumped this to dark mode, but I think that might be more annoying than useful. So let me bump this onto my other window for a second in case there's anything super secret in my GitHub preferences. I actually don't know if there is or not. But I think it being in dark mode is not helpful. So if I refresh that, cool. And refresh that one. Okay, we can pop that one back in here. Cool. Okay, so this is Noticent. RubyGem for notification management. Tell the current state of notifications, subscriptions, and distribution channels. So this is more of an end-to-end one. Okay, and how does this do it? Noticent uses the following concepts. Alert is a type of notification. For example, a new user signing up could be defined as an alert. Scope is like a namespace for alerts. In many applications, you'll only have one scope. However, sometimes you might have different types of alerts for different part of your application. New blog post written, a new blog blogs Okay. Okay, you can scope the alerts. Channel is a distribution channel for your alerts. Examples of channels are email, Slack, webhook, mobile, or browser notification. Recipient is a person or system that receives alerts. This could be a user for channels like email or a system for a webhook channel. Payload is a data structure that carries everything you'd need to send an alert to a recipient over a channel. Product. Okay, so this is like I've got an empty Jamboard here, like kind of an empty whiteboard, but this might be a description of some of the things that we would, kind of the entities that we would want to draw on there. In fact, I probably wouldn't have thought of half of these. A product acts as a filter on alerts. For example, you might want to list different set of alerts for different parts of your application. To achieve that, you can define each part as a product and use applies.to and applies.not to say how an alert applies to each part of the application. Products don't have an effect on how alerts are run, but they can be used to list which alerts apply to each part of an application. Using noticent.configuration.product by alert method. If an alert doesn't have an applies, it will be applicable to none of the products defined. That's super interesting. I think I kind of get the gist of that, but that's an interesting word to use, product. Okay, super interested in this. When looking at noticed gem earlier, sorry if I jump back to here, I'm just wondering now if this is why they didn't jump to the GitHub for this. I've zoomed in so far, it takes me ages to scroll back up. Okay, so this is noticed next to this one. Yeah, so this is something to consider when kind of picking your gems. How I think this is something we touched on before as well, which is like how narrow is the scope of its behavior. So this is just you're passing it, hey, here's a notification, handle it. And this one seems to be going way further, which is like, maybe what we're looking for, which is, hey, we're going to tell you who subscribed and unsubscribed, sending the alert, and also about like information around the context of that alert. Cool. The most important part of Noticent is the configuration part where you define scopes, channels, and your alerts. Once configured, you can hook up the rest of your code. Okay. Should we go and see some of the others first and then come back? Because this one's really interesting. How so these found by Google and these didn't come through on Ruby Toolbox. Let's take a look and see. So this is on Noticed. And what I was interested in, like, how is this? I'm just going to zoom back out. This might get harder to read just for a second. I'm interested in how this is. Like, do they tag these with categories or something to find other gems like this one? I can't see anything like that. Maybe I'm being an idiot. Okay, so if we type in notification. Okay, I think it's just that this is a... Okay, so notification rails. Okay, and then what happens if we search for Noticent? Let's grab this out and paste that. I'm just going to zoom back in on this so it's a bit easier to read on the stream. Project is in a healthy and maintained state. Oh, okay, so that's not... It doesn't look hugely used, but I've heard of Cloud 66. So then let's do the notified box and bring them up together. Oh, was it noticed? Sorry. Okay, so that's way more downloads on that one. Okay. Email stars. Okay, so this one looks to be a much more popular gem. Okay, so Noticent does more, seems to be used less. Okay, but presumably Cloud 66, which is like a I haven't used them. I've never been a customer of theirs, but my understanding is they're like if you like a cloud management kind of platform, or like a friend of mine used to use them ages ago. My understanding is you could kind of pick different providers, and kind of they were the layer on top of them for server management. So you could kind of like a little build your own Heroku kind of thing, and Cloud 66 would handle the deployment and auto scaling. So I'm not 100% sure, but if this is backed by a larger company who use it, that might explain why it's not hugely popular amongst the community, but it's really fully featured and regularly supported. So you can kind of make of that what you will when choosing your gems. You might want one that the community is leaning into, but you might prefer one that a big company is like, hey, we're committing to this, and we've spent years developing it, or something like that. Okay, these are super interesting. So you can define the payload, define the channels. Yeah, okay, so there's loads of stuff about opt-ins. Here we go. Noticent uses a combination of channel, alert, and scope to determine if a recipient has subscribed to receive an alert or not. By default, it uses the active record opt-in provider class, which uses a single database table for the process. You can write your own opt-in provider if you want to store subscription opt-in state in a different place. See active record opt-in provider for what such provider requires to operate. Is that another... Okay, that's just in this gem. I was looking to see if that's a... See active record for what such provider requires to operate. I wondered if that was another gem altogether. Active record opt-in provider. By default, it uses the active record opt-in provider class, which uses a single database. Okay, so is that provided in here? Sorry, I know I want to move on to the other ones, but I'm just really interested in this one. So, active record opt-in provider. Should be used only for testing. Okay. Wait, what? Is that because you shouldn't use it natively? Like the other method? Does it provide another layer around these? Opt in, opt out, opted in. Templates opt in. Okay. Validate depends on scope and entity. Okay, so it's just an API wrapper around a single table. Okay, great. And so what does... Okay, and it stores the channel as well. So what I'm looking for here specifically is, let's say that you are in the Sunday Club app and you have a channel and someone subscribes. How do they want to get notified? They might want to get notified by email, by an in-app notification, and maybe they want a text message as well when a new video is posted or something like that. So how would we want to model that? So maybe they want to subscribe to a channel, but they want to get new video alerts by email and SMS, but they want to get updated video alerts by in-app and SMS. So those are different actions that they want based on each type of notification. So they're opted in at the channel level. Yep, I'm subscribed to that channel. Okay, well, what do you want to happen when each of these behaviors happens? Those are different things. So you've got one overall, like if you think of it as like they only want to click subscribe once and then everything else is a preference about that subscription. Or maybe you say, okay, well, we're going to have a subscription be more like a form and they have to say what they want on the way through. Or maybe when you click subscribe, it provides a set of defaults and it's just in-app stuff, and then they can opt into other things on top, and how we're going to model that. Do we care about when they were opted out, about the audit trail that we would need for that? Again, that goes back to last week. So if we end up emailing them, which is a really big deal around like GDPR and things like that, how do we know that they unsubscribed? Texting, again, has a lot of privacy stuff. When do we ask for their mobile number? Like all of that stuff is also kind of wrapped up here. So I'm interested, like, so what this gem is doing is saying, right, well, here's the recipient, the alert name and the channel name. The channel is the subscription type, so I'm guessing you would have different opt-in, one to SMS, one to email, and one to in-app. I've forgotten which ones I was saying there. And then the alert name could be something like channel.new_video, channel.updated_video. I'm just using the dot syntax as an example there, but you could basically, each alert name could be a different key, I'm guessing. But you could also model them. I'm guessing that, no, so when you go to opt-in here, it looks like they're all just stored as one record in a database, but you could also say, well, the subscription to the channel is one thing, and then we're actually going to look up, rather than having it per notification, we're going to have a separate table where the user stores how they want different types of notifications. So that's not per channel or per notification. You might say, well, I'm going to subscribe to channel A and channel B, but no matter what happens, for all new video notifications, they're always going to come via email, and I can't pick and choose per channel. So then we don't need to model that per what did this thing call them? Per event, per subscription, basically. So we can just say, okay, well, they're subscribed to this channel. Okay, great. Well, how do they like their new video notifications? Oh, I can go and look in this other table, which might be notification preferences or communication preferences or something like that. And we're like, oh, well, they like their new video ones via email. All new video ones go via email. They can't turn it on and off per channel. And thinking that through in advance is going to save us loads of hassle if we had to make that change halfway through. So if we build it and say, well, everyone can pick their delivery mechanism when they subscribe to a channel for new video emails, and they could only have one. When the product owner turns up and says, oh, actually, no, it would be cool if they could have, for each channel they subscribe to, they want a different delivery mechanism for a different type of notification. You're like, oh God, I've now got to work out how to do that. So knowing at what level you're going to break that up is super interesting. So that's what I was looking for there. That's why I was diving into this one. Let's go take a look at some of the other ones that came up in the Google search. This is activity notification. Integrated user activity notification for Ruby on Rails. Amazing. Like getting comments, responding, etc. Okay, so provides and follow loads. Okay, this one also provides subscription management. Maybe Notice did as well, and I just didn't spot it in the blurb. Notification API, notification models, controllers, views, automatic tracked notifications, generating notifications along with the life cycle of notifiable models. Okay, grouping notifications, grouping like Kevin and 7 other users posted comments to this article. Email notification, batch email notification. So that's event-driven or periodical. Okay, amazing. So that touches on something else that you often bump into with notification. Batching, like, I think the one I use for that mostly is Trello. It's something I use a lot. And they have settings where it's like, how often do you want us to notify you? Straight away, once a day, a few times a day, weekly, whatever. As they batch all your stuff up and send it. Push notifications with action cable. Subscription management, the one we're interested in. Provides an API backend, integration with device, activity notification stream integrated into cloud computing. Yes, I think I've seen a few of these third-party streaming notification-y thingies. This came up on a client project to work on a while ago where they were looking to do something like this, and we looked at a couple of third-party ones where I think on those we handled the subscription management, and we just posted out the like the activities themselves, the events themselves, and they provided like a cool little widgety thing, and they handled the what's been dismissed, what hasn't, and all of that stuff. It was like a cool little thing. But I think we still handle the subscription stuff ourselves, which is, yeah, I think there was there's like privacy stuff all around that. Like, what are you passing over to let them opt in and out? Optional notification targets. Okay, so this is cool as well. This sounds really fully featured. Again, we came to this one via the Google search as well, and not through the Ruby toolbox. So let's pop this one in as well to into here. Okay, that's totally not showing up, so I guess I've got to do it here. Activity notification. Oh, okay, so way older. So this is from 2016 time. Last release was just a couple of weeks ago. So it looks pretty active. Great. Okay, so that's interesting. So this one is an interesting halfway house. So we looked at Noticed, which is a newer one, but I'm not sure it handled the subscription state management. Maybe I missed that. In here. Then we've got Noticent, which doesn't seem as popular, but which has a large or a business behind it, Cloud66, as I understand it. I'm assuming that is the same Cloud66. Let's just jump out and check that. Yeah. Okay. So they're like a hosting deployment tool people thing. Cool. Okay. So that's backed by them. And then we've got activity notification, which seems to be in that kind of halfway house, a bit older. Definitely more used. And who supports this? Where's the... Come on, let's get... is this owned by a company? No, okay, it looks like this is owned by a person and a group of people. Run this one, so hopefully people can support it. Oh, okay, so here's a good user interface, subscription management notifications. Yeah, so this one uses the dot syntax, which was an example that we just used. So comment.create, what type of notification do you want? I like tagret, Slack, those types of things. Whereas you could say, on comments from post A, I want Slack. On comments from post B, I want email. And so the granularity that you put those in, I think, is up to you as the developer and what you offer your users. So that's an interesting one as well. I think there was one more gem just to kind of round this off. That was one we already looked at. What was this one? So I can refresh this to get rid of the dark mode. Oh, so this is the one where I was looking at email subscription. So I think this one is a bad example because I think this is because I couldn't find what I was looking for. So I just popped email in. Yeah, I think this is just for providing email unsubscribe. Opted in and opted out. Looks like a pretty simple API as well. And I think it then just provides the API. So that's okay. So I'm going to ditch that one. Great. Okay. So maybe we could use one of these. So I actually kind of had gone into this. I said I came in a bit hot. I kind of assumed we were going to roll our own, but maybe we could just use one of these because they have active cable support. Or should we split the difference then and use this? I mean, this is the oldest one. And kind of does what we want to do. Let's take a look at this then. So screenshots, cool stuff. Okay, so database setup, configuring models. Okay, let's take a look at configuring mod. Oh, okay, that didn't work. Let's just scroll down. Configuring routes, creating notification, displaying. Okay, I think they've moved their docs and not changed the links. Maybe we could do a pull request for that. Maybe that would be helpful for them. Oh, is this because it's the Ruby Toolbox one rather than their... Here, let's go take a look here. This is probably better because it's expecting to be on this page. So configuring models. There we go. No, it's just because it's on the Ruby Toolbox thing. Configure your target model, add acts as target configuration to your target model to get notification. So that's similar behavior to what we looked at last week with paper trail we were looking. So we just put, I think has paper trail at the top of our model. And that worked really well out of the box. Acts as target configures your model as activity notification target with parameters as values or custom methods defined in your model as lambda or symbol. This is an example without any options. Default configures the target. Yeah, so we only really want the user. We're not moving much past a user and receiving notifications, I think. Configuring notifiable methods. Adds act as notifiable configuration to your notifiable model representing activity. Configuration to your notifiable model representing activity to notify for each of your target model. Already following that sentence. You have to define notification targets for all notifications from this notifiable model by the targets option. Access notifiable users, targets. Notification targets as targets is a necessary option. Set to notify to author and users commented to the article. Oh, I'm struggling to follow some of these sentences. Set to notify to author and users commented to the article, except comment owner self. Okay, so this is who should we notify when this happens, I think. Path to move when the notification is opened by the target user. Okay. Definitely found the noticant one easier to follow. That one seemed to make more sense. Just reading it off the bat. Let's go to jump back to the noticant one. And my support manager, okay, so we set our config up. So scope account, new sign up, new team member, notify owner, notify users. And then app models, notice and channels. Okay, so you're putting everything within a folder there. Now that we have our channel, we can define a payload. So this kind of has its own little mini names space. Okay, that's just an account payload, not a notice and account payload. You can now create your email templates in app models, notice and views. Okay, it really is its own. So app models, notice and views email. Interesting. So I would kind of assume that the views would. I don't think I've like actively put views inside of the models folder particularly. Could you pull that up? Maybe. So if you're interested, like where things live is usually pretty configurable. Like if you're looking at that and being, oh, I hate it, for whatever reason, you can either within a gem or within Rails, you can kind of configure where things are. And you don't really want to be working like if it's just like for a couple of files that a gem needs or something, you might not want to push too hard against it because the gem might have some defaults or something that are always, I don't know, hard coded to a path or something like that aren't great. But generally you can often move where things live because it'll be configurable somewhere. So in this channel you can use the email channel. So this is all kind of still within here. And how do you then trigger these? Oh, here you go, sending alerts. Okay, cool. So send an alert called a notify method. So account payloads, account payload one. So you create a new one. While it is possible to define and use alert names as symbols, Noticent also creates a constant with the name of the alert and a Noticent namespace to help with the use of alert names. By using the constants, you can make sure alert names are free of typos. For example, if you have an alert called some event, then after configuration, there will be a constant called Noticent alert some event available to use with the value some event. Okay. Hello. Something thing in that one chat. Okay, so let's keep going here. So using each Noticent component. So it feels like with the Noticent one, like I'm definitely able to follow the documentation a bit more. But I think it feels like there's more DSL to learn, which might be fine. All we really want to get to is the kind of streaming stuff, the kind of turbo stream stuff. So that's really where we want to head to. So channels should be derived from here. And we can go through Team Slack by using some class. So is there any issue with like channel being used here and then action cable using channel as well? Maybe just discussing internally would be a headache if you're like the channel for the activity note of for the Noticent notification, and then you've also got the channel through which the action cable is being set. A lot of channels, and then we're working on an app which also has the concept of a channel. There would be a lot of interesting meetings where everyone would just say the word channel 14,000 times. Okay, that's fine, but that happens. I did a long time ago work on an app that was for a school, and there was physical groups of people taking classes, and so it was a class, and so we had what do we have? We had like weird naming, like pupil groups and stuff like that, because just so it wasn't called a class. And yeah, you always bump into that where there's just like one word that's so representative of both a behavior in the code and the thing in the real world. So this on channel would not be fun. And you end up in meetings or on calls like just really saying the long word every time. So you'd have to be like a app channel, action cable channel, notice channel. I find myself having to do that every time. Okay, so so hello. So there's people saying I love Ruby on Rails and Ruby in general. Well, welcome along. We're looking at notification gems at the moment. Right. Okay. What is going to get us the quick? Let's do this one because it feels weird and cool and really like unlike any of the other ones that we've done on this channel. So pretty much everywhere else we've just used the incumbent gem, and this feels. Wait. So is this still? Oh, okay. So 3 months ago, what happened 3 months ago on this? Let's take a look. And it'd be good to know if Cloud 66 is still using it, because that would at least tell you clean up in Ruby version bump. Okay, so they haven't done. Oh, okay, they have not done much to it since December. Is that because it just works and they never need to think about it because it's so amazing, or is it because Cloud 66 were like, we're ditching this, let's go? Okay, so one developer really seems to have done a lot of the heavy lifting since 2019. Okay. Okay. Okay, it's unusual, but do I just want to use the one that everyone uses? But I can't really follow the, like, really like well-written docs. Do we want to roll our own? Okay, so that brings us to the other option we have is where we roll our own version of this. So we had a Jamboard up open earlier. So what do we really care about, I guess? So we could take a look at doing this as well. So I do want to get, how long have we been going? I do want to get some code. We've got a little bit of time. Okay, so I'm going to move the mic again because Justin told me off last time that I was looking down too much. I'm going to move the mic. So if I do this, can you see this on the screen? Cool, okay. So we can take a look at the gems we've just looked at, which was noticing that had the cool kind of lists of concepts that we might want to consider in this. I think if I had more time on stream, I'd be much more keen to build my own. Okay, so what were the concepts that they had? Alert, scope, channel, recipient, payload, and product. And okay, yeah. So we have, let's take a look at what we're actually trying to accomplish here. So we have this concept. I'm going to keep moving this mic around, sorry, while I try and work out how to see this and draw on it at the same time. Okay, so we have this concept of, again, I apologize for my handwriting here. I'm drawing on glass at an angle. Okay, that's pretty bad. Let's try and make that a bit more readable. Okay. So we have this concept of a channel. And over here, we have our user. Now at the moment, the only users I think that can sign up are the ones that own the channel and add the content and things like that. So what we would like to happen is for the user to receive notifications when an action takes place on another model. At the moment, it's just, I think, just the channel, but it could be at the video level, and anything else could be at the account level, as we just saw. And we're only really trying to get to the video where we play with turbo streams. So we could just look at having that as the only what the noticent gem called the channel, the only method by which the user receives notifications. But maybe it's, how long do we want to do this for? How complex do we make this? Maybe we also do email, and then we could cover sending emails with different email preferences. Like, that's always a pain in the butt that people might be interested to dive into. Mixing email preferences with email consent preferences is a pain in the butt. So you end up with like a preference hierarchy. Just a note about how complex this can be. As I saw this recently, I'm going to show this on the screen. So I want to Google Slack notification logic. And I'm hoping there's I didn't spell it correctly at all. But there's a diagram here. And I don't know if this is true or not. Well, this sounds great. So I think this must be the one I've looked at. Can I zoom in on this? Can I zoom in further? I don't know how true this is, but I am a Slack user during the week. So I can't move this around. Okay, hang on a second. Let me try and zoom in. Open image in new tab. Great. Okay, so now I should be able. Okay, great. So this is, I don't know if you can see this on the screen, but should we send a notification? And then if you look, like, is the channel muted? Is the user in do not disturb? What type of message is it? What are the user's channel notification preference for this device? What is the global notification preference for this device? This is wild, but totally reasonable when you kind of see the years of layers of like features that get listed on top of each other to get here. So that's what I mean around like, let's say if we include email in the diagram we're about to draw. So we have a user subscribes to a user subscribes, hey, I want to be told when this channel gets new notifications. And we're like, cool, okay, great. But maybe they want to get an email when they get when there's a new video, and no email when an old video is updated. They just want to get that notification via SMS or via the platform. Great, so that's per channel, per notification type preferences. You then might have a preference where you say to the user, can we email you, like for GDPR or compliance reasons or any other kind of legislative, for any kind of compliance reason. And then that again might be, hey, yeah, you can send me emails around notifications or whatever, however you group them. But it'd be like, I don't want your marketing stuff, but maybe I want notifications. But I don't know. And then also you might have, I've definitely worked on apps where they have like, yeah, we can email you between certain times. That is definitely something that I've bumped into in the real world, and definitely for SMS as well. So yeah, you can email me, but only between 9 and 5. Yeah, you can SMS me, but only between these times. And your notification logic starts off as, oh, well, they've said, yes, there's a subscribe here, so send it. And then before you know it, you end up with this diagram, and you're like, how did I get here? Everything seems so simple to begin with. So if you're watching this and you're coming to it and you're like, oh, well, I've followed a tutorial, I got users appearing, got notifications appearing, user subscribed and then said, yes, great. And now I want to add email. This is something that where planning can really save you some headaches down the road. You're probably going to bump into them anyway. Like the time-lapse one is consistently mind-boggling. So if you can't send someone something between those hours, what do you do? Do you save them all up and send them all when you can send them? Do you batch them? Because then when you batch them, you're like, SMS can only be so long, or you have to send lots of them, and like it's like changes the business and changes the behavior of the user and the business based on what was a simple preference choice. So sorry, I'm rambling on about this, but like it's really mind-blowing when a lot of tutorials are like, hey, you're just going to add notifications to the app, don't worry about it. And you're like, yeah, this is great. So I think I've just talked myself out of doing email in any way. I think maybe we'll just do the ones that show in the app, because then you don't care about any of the preference stuff. Maybe we'll save email for another day, because email is a whole other world, and so is SMS. So maybe we'll just do the in-app notification ones. So if we go back to our poorly drawn diagram, yeah, I mean, so, like if people are commenting below, like I'm interested to know if it's like that. I guess people watching, like if they're useful in any way. Like I don't know. I think I'm getting more interested because I sometimes go off on rants on that. But obviously, if you are already a Rails developer, you're probably like, you may have been burned by those things as well. So that you might be like, yeah, I know all that stuff. But I'm interested to know it, like the gem choosing stuff or anything like that, or just more context around stuff like that. So if it's useful, let me know basically. And if it's not, well, I don't know. I'll try and stop going on those rants and we can write more code, but maybe maybe not. Okay, so let's get back to our diagram. We've got a channel, we've got a user, and what we could model then is simply this concept of you could kind of really limit it down. I mean, you can do this as something as simply as the naming you give it. You can say, right, we're going to start with the simplest possible thing, and the way you name that thing will start to limit you. So let's say we called it let's say we had a channel notification subscription. God, I hate writing on this thing. So a channel, I don't even know if that's legible because it's so small, but hopefully you kind of get the gist. You didn't get custom options. Well, it says channel notification subscription, whatever. So if you look at the wording there, I mean, that's really tying you in to the concept of channel notifications and that representing the subscription for them. So it's not a notification subscription. It is not genericized at all. And that being tight on the language can potentially indicate to another developer or to yourself in the future, like, hey, this is only for this thing. If you want to try and extract this out further to be a generic notification system, you're going to have to put the work into move this data to another table to refactor it somehow. I'm limiting the behavior and scope of this deliberately in the language I'm using so that we don't try and glom things onto this later to make it more complex. And so here you could have something where, what was the language? I don't know, just make some of this stuff up. So you could have like, just gonna zoom in so I can, so notification, well, no, actually that would be, we'd call it what the other one called it, which is like, event, I don't know, you could put like event name. I'm trying to write really large when I zoom in. So you could have like event name, and so that then could be like video.new, video.updated, channel.updated, something like that. That could be the event name, and then that would allow people to subscribe to different ones. You would need to put in your user on here. I cannot write on this thing. This is how the other diagram ended up so poorly. You'd have to have your user. You would then have, you could then have something like your channel because you've named it channel in there. And you would have, yeah, you could do something as basic as just having like an active flag, and that could be a Boolean value. So what I'm trying to draw here very badly is the simplest, tightest scope of this. So you got user, and you create an instance of this channel notification subscription when they subscribe, and they're subscribing to new videos, for example. So you've got the user, you've got the channel, and is this subscription active? And then they can toggle it on and off. Really limited in scope, really, really narrow. So you start to bump into, as soon as you want to move it beyond that complexity. So let's say active is true and false here, but doesn't have an audit trail of when that was changed. It was so you maybe need to keep an audit history of that. You could do something like we looked at last week, like has paper trail, or you could build it into this model, or you could use a callback to store it somewhere else. Like as soon as this is so limited, this example is so limited that you've got to start going up beyond that. And if you want to do something for like an individual video, that's not represented here. So we've only got channel here, we've got user, channel, and event name. So you've immediately got to have, okay, well, am I going to have a video notification subscription? What does that look like? And so by limiting it, you're forcing that behavior to be limited, and then you can put it out in scope. Let's look at the other example, which is what these other gems have done. Before we do that, I'm going to answer this question here. So have you developed a fully Ruby on Rails website? Which was your favorite website you designed? I have developed many Ruby on Rails websites. I don't know about many. Some as like as a job. And my favorite website is probably my current employer. So I love their website. It's my favorite. I don't mention too much on here, but I work for a wonderful company. Lovely people. I work here. So this is probably one of my favorite sites that I've worked on. So it's great if you want to learn stuff. Head over to FutureLearn. I am paid by them because they're my employers, but they don't pay me to advertise them. They pay me to write code. So this is probably the favorite thing I've ever worked on because I love them and all of my lovely people who work there. So free promo for my employer. Shout out to them. Anyway. And I didn't design that website, by the way. I didn't design that. There's designers who designed that. That's I work on a whole other part of the app. Okay, cool. So let's jump in and look at the other example that we were going to look at. So we've got channel, notification, subscription here. This is a really limited in scope version of this design. So what these other gems are doing is saying, well, let's just create a generic model for this. So we could just call it like, like notification subscription, I guess. I'm going to butcher writing this as well. So notification subscription. Cool. And so here, if we look at what like that noticent gem was doing, it's basically letting you define everything on this model. So you could say, okay, well, what is it gave you a channel is a bad example because we've already got channels. So it could be like, we could call it medium, I guess. Output, I don't know what we want to call it other than channel because that would generally be thought of as that. So we could say medium. Notification medium, something like that, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a moment. And by medium, so that is like where is the output of this notification? Is it going to be SMS? Is it going to be email? Is it going to be in-app? Is it where it is? You want the recipient, I guess. I'm going to go and jump into. They use much better language than I did. So. Recipient. So again, on this example here, the only recipient was user because that's what we had hard coded into that design. We don't want to do that on a generic system, so we need to say what is the recipient, and that recipient can be like a polymorphic relationship. So it could be a user, it could be another model in the system. Maybe the recipient is just a webhook URL, like you could define that to be whatever you want it to be. So I'm trying to show the example between like what's a simple, straightforward subscription design and what's a more generic one. I'm going to jump over and look at the language they use because it was way better than what I'm coming up with on the top of my head. So where did the noticent one go? It was somewhere. Let's jump over to here. Okay, so they had, in this, so they did choose recipient. Yes, okay, good. I picked the right word. So we changed now. So scope, I think we can pass over for now. Payload is interesting. So again, if we go to our design here, so I think payload is okay, but it could be message or content or something like that. I'll put payload because again, they're trying to genericize that out. So here we're not referencing on the subscription. That's actually for that's not the subscription itself though, is it? That's actually in the event. So I'm mixing two things up there. And what I really care about is the actual subscription for it. So they had like the opt-in stuff. So can we see jumped in? I'm just looking through their stuff. So that so that payload wouldn't be on the subscription itself. So let me pull that one out. What would be on the subscription? So the medium, the recipient. Let's take a look at the other one. Just stealing all of their language basically, because they already have better ones than I would come up with. Well, this one is just for the notifications rather than the subscriptions as well. So medium, the recipient, you would want the subscribable. Let's jump back to the Jamboard. I'm just going to do this off the top of my head then because I can easily find it. So you then want the notifiable screen. I'm writing on this glass. Subscribable, no E, maybe with an E. Subscribable on there. And then you might have something like they had scope. You might have relationship. Like these are all things like you could decide how complex you wanted to make that. So then you could say, well, through this table, through this notification subscription table, we could have a user subscribe to a channel. And again, this could then have like name or type or something like that on there. So the name of the subscription type could be channel.new video, channel.updated video, whatever these are. So you could have a user subscribe to a channel for new videos being added to the channel, videos being updated. But then you might also have a Slack bot being connected to a video for every time it receives updates, and it would all be represented in the same notification subscription model. Whereas on this side here, we're actively limiting the thinking behind what things can subscribe to. And so you're influencing, when you're designing and developing the feature, how wide to go, and why are you doing that? Like, I want to try and actively limit the complexity I'm having to deal with, because this one is going to be way simpler. And I am 99.9% sure that we're never going to come back and do this. And this one, you're like, holy crap, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm going to need to cater for all possibilities, and I'm willing to deal with any complexity that comes out of that. And that's what these gems are doing. They're kind of much more on the generic side, so that you can not worry about, they have to cater to all, to kind of all comers. So again, I'm hoping this is useful, just to kind of think about when you're designing these things. I know this is probably like a third or fourth of these like planning streams that we've done. So rather than kind of get too into the nitty gritty details, I've tried to look more at like why we would do it a certain way, because the individual implementation will depend on your needs and your app. So I'm just going to look at what was put in the chat there. So, hello, I'm starting with Ruby on Rails. Started learning 4 years ago. Studying hard at first and then forgot a bit. That's essentially my entire life, I think. My forgot a bit probably is more than my studying hard. Then came back to Ruby and worked with a project for a company. Website just for fun and still a big newbie. Yeah, I'm years in at this point and still definitely regularly consider myself a newbie. So like, I think gem selection is a really good point of this. Like, just taking a look back through action cable stuff again, just starting from scratch, like no idea about any of it. We're just gonna dive in. So definitely don't panic or feel bad about being new to any of this stuff. There will never come a point where you can cover all of it. So definitely feel comfortable with that. My next goal is to start contributing to gems, but have no idea, never done it before, but I know I could. I definitely know you could as well. So some of these gems that we're taking a look at here might have things like, you might see a label for like good first pull request or something like that, or bugs that need fixing or anything like that. These are just random gems that we're looking at today because we're looking at notifications, but I definitely don't do enough of this stuff because you don't always get a lot of time. But yeah, I'm sure they're looking for interactions. I hate when I find bugs and can't do anything about it. Yeah, that one is really useful as you get more experience. Then opening gems up and finding bugs in them is really fun eventually, and annoying when you do find the bugs. But again, if you have the time to go and investigate and see what's happening in a gem, then it's a really cool thing to do. Actually, I'm gonna just close that tab, but I realize I want to post the link to this document I'm gonna post this in the YouTube video description. So let me just move this Jamboard because I think we're done with that for now. And I'm just going to paste this into the YouTube video description so I don't forget to do it. Slack. I'm just doing this on the other screen for a second. Slack notification logic. I'm totally taking that on faith that that's even vaguely correct. By the way, I just saw it on Twitter or somewhere and just believed that was true. Although I do use Slack, so I know that it is. There's a lot going on. All right, cool. So I think I've managed to talk myself out of rolling our own there. and maybe use one of these gems. Do I want to do that on this stream? So we're over an hour in. Yeah, let's see if we can get one installed and up and running. And I think it's between the noticent one and the activity notification one. And let's see, they both had action cable stuff, so let's see if we can do okay, so I was just looking around to see if there's resources on here that I can grab during the week. I know I'm saying during the week and I never get any time between these streams, but I will try my best. Oh, so this is what we found earlier. Okay, there's not a lot there. And what was the other one called? Activity notification. So this is something that I have done a few times on this stream, which is like look at the resource around the gem that you might be picking. See if there's tutorials, loads of issues or something like that that you might up and running. This one definitely feels simpler. That noticing stuff had a lot going on, although really, what was the opt-in and opt-out behavior for this? Subscription management here. Oh, damn it, I've gone to the wrong one again. You got to do it from within the gem, haven't you? So I'm looking for subscription management. Okay, so again, you can see a lot of the things we've been talking about here. So that like the name or the type of the subscription. So comment.reply, it could be video.new, channel.video.new or something like that. Subscribe to optional target, and the target is the action cable channel, action cable API channel, Slack. So the target is to optional target. Call these methods with optional target name like this. Oh, okay. So if we just did user find or create subscription comment.reply, you can also manage subscriptions with the REST API. With subscriptions, true. Yeah, I'm interested in methods with, call these methods with optional target name. So I'm not quite sure what optional target is. Obviously, I haven't been through these docs. So subscribe to optional target. Update the subscription to subscribe to the specified optional target. And the word optional target name implies that there is then a mandatory target that you have to have. So can you have a subscription without any optional targets? Also the optional target information, Slack, so you can pick. So optional means an option for those. Filter option to load subscription index. Okay. Yeah, okay. Maybe we build the simplest subscription service ourselves and then use. I'm just trying to think about how long I want to spend on this on the stream. Sorry, I don't go. And then use something like Justin's suggestion, which was noticed at the just handling that front end part. So maybe we model our own really limited one just for an app. So maybe we take this type of thing. Maybe we make it a bit more generic. So we have a notification subscription. and we just check whether it's active or not. And then we can just check that. Yeah, and then we don't need to worry about all these gems all seem to do a lot, which maybe we don't need just to demonstrate the behavior. Okay, yeah, let's do that. So we're going to use our own code to manage the subscriptions, but we'll use a gem for the actual notification part. So what was the first one? This noticed one. And that's all this did. So it provided a neater API, I think. And this did action cable stuff, I think. So it gives you callback style things. On the notifications. Yeah, and so there's the check. So that's the check for some sort of subscription management. Email, action cable, get sends notification for the browser via WebSockets. Action cable by default. Okay, and then we can use that for that. Okay, so let's go and write a quick bit of code, just so we've done some code today rather than blabbering on all day. Cool. Okay, so we can close out what's there. I'm just going to tidy up some of these stuff from the previous week. So add link to video show view in CP. I think I just missed that in the previous one. So again, these are all work in progress ones. There's no due diligence around those at all. That's still that bug fix from before. And again, work in progress. I will come back and tidy all this stuff up. And when I finally come to add it to the repo, implement paper trail on video model. Again, make sure you write better commit messages in this. These are work in progress commits on a work in progress branch. So that's that bug fix thing, which I want to write up. So whip fix issue with truncated video subscriptions. Just committing stuff from previous streams here. And this was, I need to write up considerations around additional API calls. And add some tests, obviously. And then devise thing we need to, because devise is still requiring us to be confirmed, which we don't have. And then we're not going to need the gem today, the YouTube gem today. So we actually don't need that. We can just discard that change. Cool. Okay, so we can leave that one. So let's build a really simple version of this, shall we? Just a really dumb version. Where is our terminal? So let's say we want to, I can make this a bit bigger. We'll call them, I guess we'll call them. So this goes back to my naming point about earlier. So we could say we're going to call this notification subscriptions or preferences. Again, I've been using the word subscription, but like you could call it anything. Like you're just indicating this consent of like, not just consent, but like a choice to say, yes, send me these. And that's revocable. So it could be a preference that you turn on. Create notification subscription. Again, that defines that that you're indicating that it represents some sort of notification, but maybe it could represent something wider than that. So it could just be called subscription or communication preference, notification preference. These are all on the table when you're at this planning stage to work out how wide the scope of what you're building is going to be. So bin Rails, create a notification subscription. That'll do. And what we're going to do is, think I'm just going to tie it to a user, I think. I think on a previous stream we used colon references, so I think we can do that. And then, yeah, let's not define it to a. We can call it like, what are they? Let's give it like an event name, I guess, that it's subscribing to. Subscription name, maybe just a name. And that's just going to be some text. So again, we're even limiting this scope by saying it's going to be a user that is the thing that gets subscribed to. And then what's the polymorphic version of references? Like, can we do that there? So Rails generate polymorphic. No, I specifically want the generator. What's the syntax for that? Oh, is that really it? Okay. Anything, right. That's the appropriate index. Okay, can we do this? So we could do subscribable. Oh, I never remember whether they leave the E in on those or not. Subscribable. I'm just, so here's references. All right, go to the event name, and then we could say like whether we could put like that true or flag false on it, or we could say that the existence of the record alone indicates the preference. And then if we need to keep an audit trail, we could do that separately. Let's keep things super simple and let's just say like active. We'll just turn it on and off. Kind of spent too long thinking through more complex scenarios. Cool. So hopefully we have a migration here. So it references a user as an event name. It says a subscribable. These are all null for, like, I just don't really want to get into too much of the details of worrying about this now. Like, these are all null false, so it's going to need to keep these around. Fine for now. And then active, we can turn it true or false. So we basically just want a user like Bob is going to subscribe to channel 123, and the event name is going to be videos.new. And we're just going to check for the presence of one of these that says true at the point at which we send the notification. And what we could look at is maybe if we get this set up, we'll finish setting this up next week. And then we could look at how when adding a new video to the channel or a new video arriving, we actually kind of ping and say, hey, I'm setting a new thing to a channel, go and notify everyone. So we can look at something like a pub sub style behavior for that. So, or like a broadcast, however you want to name that behavior. We could do that next week. So let's run that. Let's not run that because it doesn't work. Oh, so the name is too long on the index. I think you have to add the index manually in that case and set the name. can never remember the syntax for, so we're going to go look that up. We don't care about the actual name in the Google search. So we want the add index thing. Okay, you can just put it on there. Cool. Oh, I thought the don't provide the name option to add index. If using the index option on references in a create table block, it takes the same options hash as add index as this value. Great. References here. We can do index name. And what's it trying to name it? Notification subscription unsubscribable, type unsubscribe. Notifications unsubscribable. That'll do. You normally want to check that for any issues around how reusable it is, but we don't really care in this kind of dummy app. Cool. Okay, so we have a migration. And check that in there. Put the schema in so we can just quickly do that. I'm bound to have missed something on that because I didn't finish my diagram. That's how you know you're going to get screwed. So we can say add. Oh no, we didn't add migration. So create notification subscription table. Again, not doing my due diligence on my commits because this is just work in progress stuff. You should write better commit messages than this. There are a couple of streams in the channel for doing rebases. The work in progress branch is now of a length that's terrifying. So I don't know, I might have to take a year of my life off to to polish it up, but you get the gist. Okay, so cool. Okay, so let's go make a model that represents this, I guess. We're just gonna do some mechanics around this. I've already forgotten what I called it. Took 2 seconds for me to forget. Subscription. I'm gonna assume it was subscription notification. Subscription. No, notification subscription. See? Notification subscription. Subscription. Okay, cool. So now if we open up a console. So in the chat, I use Sublime. Do you recommend VS Code instead? I've used Sublime in the past. I pretty much work on the basis that whatever people like and works for you works. So if you get spare time to check other editors out, feel free. But I personally think that whatever editor works for you is the best editor. So here we should then be able to have notification subscription. So, okay. Subscription.new. Cool. Okay, so we could then say, well, let's create a new subscription for the kind of last user that showed up. We didn't make any of this mandatory. And the subscribable could be the last channel. And the active can be true. Do we not specify user? Oh, okay, because we haven't actually added the... we could just put user ID. Sorry, I haven't... that failed because I haven't added the belongs to, and it has stuff in the model, so we can just put user ID. Oh, but then subscribable won't work either. Okay, we'll have to do those. Okay, so this one belongs to user. And this, I think active and subscribable is the only other thing. So did we add any polymorphic ones in here already? No, I think this is our only one. That's interesting. Okay, so we want it. Let's do them the other way around. So has many notification subscriptions, and we're then going to say that channel has many notification subscriptions as subscribable. And here we can say belongs to, I'm hoping I'm getting these the right way around, belongs to subscribable. I consistently get these the wrong way around, so it wouldn't surprise me if I've completely ballsed that up, but let's not worry about that. So here, can we do this one now? Subscribable. Polymorphic. Sure. What's the reload command? Didn't know that one. So when you're in the console in that comment is from the chat, by the way. I think the chat can be a bit hard to read when I've got the code. Let me pull over there. So on the chat here, what's the reload command? Didn't know that one. So when you open a console, a bunch of, like, your environment is in memory, and so when you then change your code and rerun it, your changes won't be reflected in the console necessarily, because it's stored in memory, basically, I think. And then so normally you would exit or Control C or whatever out of the console and then restart it. So reload bang, so reload with an exclamation mark at the end, will do that for you and reload the environment. There are limits to how far it'll get. I think, I can't remember if configuration counts in there. I think you may need to still reload the server in configurations. But I think it reloads. Does it just do the auto load path? I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember what that does. But you can take a look. So yeah, hopefully that's useful. So if you exit and re-enter, reload will save you having to do that. But there are limits to it. I can't remember the edge cases. So I think we had our. We didn't get our thing created because I had undoubtedly missed something. So user must exist. Oh, because I put user ID. Okay. Cool. Okay, so now I have our subscription. So most of that last 10 minutes was me remembering the API for associations, which I can never do. So basically what we're now saying in this code is that user 8 is willing to accept subscriptions from channel 13, willing to accept notifications from channel 13. We didn't give it an event name, so let's kind of finish our example here and bump the font size up a little bit more. So let's just clear this for now. Oh no, I'm still in here, so we can just do that. Okay, so notification subscription, subscription, not last. Okay, so this is, and we'll just assign this to like a variable sub. Okay, so we've got a subscription here, but we didn't give it an event name. So we're going to say the event name for this one is, this can be like channel.13 video.new. Like, so let's save that. So why have we given it that? So you're basically defining your own internal, like your own internal system for how we're going to define what events are called and how we're going to manage them. So by doing something as simple as adding full stop characters in there, you're giving yourself kind of namespaces in which you can then add and remove things. So you could have a permission in the future that is channel.video.updated, for example, or destroyed. And you could then say, okay, well, you could then remove that and say, well, channel.destroyed is now an entirely new type of notification that maybe admins want to know about when one of their channels was destroyed. And it's just a string. Like, I think that sometimes, definitely when you're early on in the planning stages, you want to give yourself a really complex, like try and think through all the edge cases. But something like a string with dots in sometimes is super powerful, and it's all you really need. And will give you loads and loads of options. So again, this could be like channel dot. Well, you could put the, like, let's say it was channel.13. You could actually make these dynamic and say that you don't even need to store the subscribable as an entity on the subscription record. You could just put it in the event name. These are all again, as usual on this stuff, I'm not trying to describe any right or wrong or different ways, or different ways that I think you should do things. These are always all options that you can tailor to your use case. So channel.13.destroyed, you could then do channel.13.videos. Updated. And so you could then look for that string when channel 13 did something. And so you could say, well, where, get me all subscriptions where, whatever, what did I just call it? Event name, event underscore name contains channel.13, .videos, and then you can find all those subscriptions and parse them out and do stuff like that. So I'm hoping this is making some sense of all the options you've got. So we've got a really simple thing here. And now what we can do is look up this record when exactly like that API we just found for, I can't remember which one it was. It was for noticed, whatever this one was, like it was like emailable or something like that. It was like, can we send this? And it was just looking it up, and it had a little predicate method to say yes or no. I've already lost wherever that happened. If email notifications, there we go. So like they've got recipient.preferences.email. So again, preferences doesn't have to be subscriptions, turn it on and off, whatever you care about. And so now we've got a record we can look up here, and then we will then know in our notification thing whether to deliver that or not. The other thing I haven't mentioned here is that we haven't put any validation on other than the database requiring a value. But if you notice what we did here is we added a user to and a channel to a subscription, but maybe the user shouldn't be allowed to subscribe to that subscribable. Like, what you don't want is your notification preferences not using the same kind of rules around what they can and can't see as other things. So where are you going to define that? How are you going to define it? Can you use the same behavior you already use? So like, you could say, well, when we set a notification preference for a user, we should look and see if they can actually do the thing we're trying to notify them about using, we use Pundit in this app. But these are all things that you're still trying to think about during the planning of this feature. So we've covered like a huge amount of things that we have to think about just simply to usually show like a red dot in the corner of the app that the user clicks on and sees a list of stuff. I think I'm just pretty much going to wrap that up because we got to some code. We created our record. We know where we're going next week, and it's it's Valentine's Day, so I have to go and start making food for this evening on that basis, and also hopefully I'll get a chance to be a little bit more prepped next week. So yeah, let's wrap up a little bit of what we covered. So we're looking at notifications and subscribing to those notifications in the app. We looked at a bunch of gems that do that. We looked at how we might model it ourselves. We looked at how generic and how narrow to make those implementations. We looked at actually implementing one of them ourselves. So we did that, and kind of all of the things that we looked like how complex we would make that system. So we covered quite a lot in a fairly short amount of time. So what are we going to look at from here? So next week, I think we definitely want to take a look at triggering the notification. So when a model changes, where do we trigger that from? I definitely want to get into the actual gem itself. I think maybe like the simpler API around like noticed or something like that might be better for us, just so we, because we've now got our little preference that we can look up. I guess we'll need to put a user interface on setting and disabling the preference. And then where I really want to get to is around the action cable stuff of like when we trigger that notification, posting it to action cable and having that number show up on the screen and doing those types of things. And then trying to get back to TurboStream to kind of see whether we need the action cable stuff, like how that interacts with turbo streams. So I think that'll probably be like the next couple of weeks, I think. And that sets us on a good path to kind of cover a lot of ground. Hopefully these are useful. Thank you so much to everyone who said hello in the chat or interacted in any way. It's so useful. And hopefully if all we did was teach someone that the reload command works in their Rails console, it's been a good day and a valuable stream for everyone. Have great weekends and great weeks, and I will see you back here next time, 10:30 UK. I don't think I'm going to get a chance to do a homework edition video during the week, so let's say it'll just be next Sunday. And have a great week, everyone. See you next week.